Okay, so I don't want to waste time, right? But the main thing is I just want to start with this introduction, right? What you have to understand here is that you are dealing with the Keynesian model, right? It's the Keynesian model, right? But in economics 1A or 100, usually you don't go deeper into these guys, the Keynesians, because this we're actually talking about an economic school of thought, but you won't go deeper into it, right? So chapter 9, the entire chapter here, it's actually based on consumption expenditure, right? So one thing we have to understand is that under these guys, this school economic of thought, the Keynesians, they derived the formula for calculating consumption expenditure as our GDP. We're talking about the GDP. So it is C plus I plus G plus, then you have bracket, you have your X, which is export, minus Z, which is your import. So now this is showing you now that I have components over here, right? The C is going to stand for household consumption. The I is going to stand for what? My investments, my savings, right? And then my G is going to stand for my government expenditure, right? Then I also have my exports and I have my imports. So the idea behind this thing, right? When you are doing this topic, you will realize that in the early stages of the topic, right, the most basic level of consumption is actually here at C, right? Which is where now we're only focusing on the household consumption. This is where we get our consumption function, right? But the moment I now move up to the two-sector model, okay, let me write that down, right? Let's say A. So with A, we'll see A as the basic level of consumption, which is going to be C. That's just household consumption. So I'm focusing on the household consumption, right? The moment I move up to B, this is where now I talk about the two-sector model. So in the two-sector model, this is where I now have what? My household consumption, and I also have my investments. So the formula now becomes C plus I. Does it make sense? That's your two-sector model. But as I move further up, right, and we go to C, which is now the three-sector model. The moment we get to the three-sector model, this is where now we're actually involving household consumption, C, plus my investment, plus my G, right? That is the formula for your three-sector model. But keep in mind, when we get to the three-sector model, right, the moment we speak of the government, right, we simply now have to do what? Involve the effect of tax. We have to involve the effect of tax. And keep in mind, at that level as well, right, what is happening in that level? We are also doing what? We are exporting and we are also importing, right? So do you see the difference? The basic level is only looking at household consumption. The two-sector model, it's C plus I. We're looking at household consumption and investments. With the three-sector model, we're now looking at everything. The household consumption, the investments, and we're also looking at the government consumption. But when we go to government consumption, we also have to involve the effects of tax, and we need to take into consideration that we now start to see exports and we also start to see imports, right? So the entire chapter is actually derived from the GDP formula. That's exactly what you're going to be doing.